Welcome to Newfoundland and Labrador Studies 2205. I'm Miss Fleming, and this is Unit 2, The Roots of Our Culture, Section 3, Lesson 2, Video 2, on the English fishery. The early English migratory fishery was often called the inshore fishery. This is because ships carried fishermen and supplies and were moored, while the actual fishing was done in small boats along the shore. The fishery lasted from June until August, but vessels began preparations in winter, refitting the fleets with supplies, tools, food, and clothing for the crews. Later, as people settled, of course, there were supplies sent from merchants to the residential fishers. And initially, fishermen were paid a share of the catch, but later they were paid wages, and we'll talk about that a bit more when we get into the residential fishery lessons. So ships left in March to get to Newfoundland in time to prepare for the fishing season. Unless a winter crew was left behind, the first jobs were to repair stages, flakes, and buildings, and then acquire bait. Fishing was conducted with lines and baited hooks, and was cured by crews on the shore, remembering, of course, that cured means to be preserved. Fish were cleaned, processed, and dry cured on shore, which meant it was lightly salted and dried on flakes, as opposed to green cured. This dry cured fish, with less salt, actually fetched more money because it was more desired by the rich class than the green cured fish, which used a lot of salt, and it wasn't dried. This curing was also better suited for the English because they had no natural supply of salt at home and relied on it being imported, so using less made it easier. Most fish was brought back to Europe on ships called sacks, or sack ships, sending fish to Spain and Portugal, while picking up goods such as salt, fruits, and wine. We also have to talk about the Iceland fishery. England was also engaged in a migratory fishery off the coast of Iceland, starting in the 15th century. They followed a similar pattern in the fishery off of Newfoundland and Labrador. Ports in West Country were better suited for the Newfoundland and Labrador fishery than the Icelandic fishery. The economies of those western seaports increased greatly. Because it was dry cured and it was well preserved, it could go for longer, so they were sent to the West Country ports. They were also larger, could take the larger ships. And now we have to talk about the global economy, which was greatly affected by the Newfoundland fishery. Although it was England engaging in the fishery, not as much fish actually went to England. It was part of a trade industry with other parts of Europe. For example, salt was acquired from Spain, which was vital to the fishery. This cured fish was then transported back to Spain and to the Mediterranean for fruit, wine, and olive oil. Trade with the West Indies included sugar, molasses, and rum for salt fish that would have fetched a lower price in Europe. This lower quality fish was bought by plantation owners to feed slaves. And trade with New England colonies in the present-day United States was prevalent until the American Revolution in 1775. New England traders took fish for West Indian products, food like flour, livestock, and lumber, for lower quality salt fish, which they called the West Indian cure, to Jamaica and Barbados. So now it's time to review. I have some activities for you in Brightspace about the French and English fishery, and I hope you enjoy them and you have a good day.